But we're going to look at Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, because we haven't done a Bitcoin analysis. Keeping it brief today, we did a big analysis yesterday, lots to cover there, and so we've probably covered most of it at this point, but let me see what I can see here in the volume first and foremost before I get into it. Okay, so what I'm seeing here on Bitcoin, guys, 26 minutes until the daily candle close. I don't think much is going to change until that point. What I'm seeing here on Bitcoin is when this daily candle closes green, we're going to see a bullish MACD cross, okay? And that begs the question, looking at my two charts that I have in Bitcoin, that begs the question, will we see a breakout of this wedge? And on my other chart, and this is probably the chart I want to look at more, will we see a breakout of this channel, okay? So the bullish MACD cross is good to see. However, we don't have any bullish divergence. We don't have anything really. We have volume kind of going to be closing at the same it was yesterday, and so we're not having increasing volume at this point. And nothing really is telling us that, hey, this move is very, very strong and we need to be getting in right now. We're going to miss 10% gains. The move is not going to be strong, okay? I think that, as I've said yesterday, I think that if we do break upwards here past this wedge, I think the highest we can go is 48k. Okay, 48k. If we break above that, we're bullish again. I've spoken about that before, and let's just look at it briefly again for people who haven't looked at it. If we break above 48k, we're breaking above Ikomoku Cloud, we're breaking above bull market support band, we're breaking above the 50 and the 200 day as well, and so we'll also be breaking above the 50 week if we brought up the weekly chart. So breaking above 48k will basically make us bullish on Bitcoin again and basically make me target new all-time highs. But I don't think we're going to be doing that at this point. I think we've got a long way to go. In fact, we haven't even retested 40k yet. Okay, and what is the logical move in technical analysis is when you drop below a support zone, you come back and you retest it, and then you drop further. Okay, and so based off logic, I think we will be retesting 40k at some point. And whether that happens today, whether it happens next week, that's for interpretation. But I think 40k is going to be retested. That said, am I confident enough to jump in the market for a quick swing trade while that happens? No, because I don't trade against the trend, right? Even as an investor, even as a day trader who's been trading like on a daily basis, short-term time frames, if the trend is very, very strong to the downside, I don't see a point in trading that, okay? And I'm seeing a strong trend to the downside. Now, with volume decreasing or stabilizing, it looks as though there's not many buyers to support this move. Now, let's look at the volume profile, okay? Volume profile is basically how I like to think of it. Let's delete everything here so you guys can see it clearly. Is this orange thing on the side here. How I like to think of the volume profile is they're like hills and valleys, okay? So if you're on a low point, like a valley of the volume profile, like you would be if you were down here between 40k and 45k, you're in a valley, and hence running up the hill is going to be very hard, running down the hill is going to be very hard. You're in an area of contention. You're in an area in which it's kind of like no one really knows what's going to happen. Right now, we are at the top of the hill. And so if we move upwards even the slightest bit more towards 40k, okay, we will very likely be retesting 40k to 41k because we'll run down this hill to 41k, okay? And then at that point, we'll be in another point of contention. And if we get to 40k, we'll probably be drifting towards 45.5k to 40k, and then we will need to attack the POC at 47. Okay, I hope that made sense. It's pretty complicated. The point is, in order for Bitcoin to make actual progress, it needs to retake the POC, which is the biggest mountain on the volume profile. That is at 47k, and hence I'm rounding that up to 48k, right? Because 48k is the actual resistance zone in terms of static resistance. So right now, what I'm seeing on Bitcoin is that there is a very strong potential if we go even slightly higher that we'll be retesting 40k. But from that point, I don't think we're going to have enough strength to break even higher than that. So let's go ahead and bring that chart back up. And we can go ahead and look at the weekly chart because I identified quite a new pattern that I hadn't really seen before in the weekly chart. Let's go to the Gemini because I brought it up on Gemini, I'm pretty sure. I don't use Gemini very much at all here. But Gemini is showing me something pretty interesting from previous cycles. One second, let me go to logarithmic. And we can see from the previous all-time high, which is in 2017, if we drew a line from the previous all-time high all the way through the May corrections and touched it on the July bottom, we can see that right now Bitcoin is retesting that support line. Now, support lines on the logarithmic scale should be taken with a grain of salt, I will say that. But they should be considered nevertheless. We've retested this in February, retested it from May to July, and we're retesting it right now. We've wicked it, and we've had a strong candle to the upside. So this support line might hold. It's worth considering. Now, looking at my other chart here, and for those of you who haven't been watching this video, this live stream the whole time, because I know a lot of people tuned in late. We only had 10 viewers when I discussed this. Now, I just want to go over it briefly again. Sorry to people who have already seen it. I'm just going to go over it briefly again. What my scenario is in Bitcoin, what my two scenarios are in Bitcoin, is either this yellow scenario, which would imply the trend just keeps going downwards, right? The yellow scenario, the trend continues, we continue in this channel, and we just chop downwards slowly until we reach the bottom in March, okay, on the 200-week SMA. The other scenario is we break this to the upside, this trend. Now, it could happen here, all right? It could happen here. Who knows? It could happen anywhere. But the other scenario is we take this orange scenario and we break this channel to the upside. We see a dead cat bounce. We reject off of 48K. Okay, and I think that rejection is going to come around the time we have the Federal Reserve talk in March, right, in which they're going to raise interest rates. When they do raise interest rates, we're going to see a collapse in the financial markets, right, the stock market. We're going to see a collapse or at least a big correction. It's going to drag Bitcoin down away from this critical resistance, and we're going to drop down towards the 200-week, and we're going to reach that between April and November. Now, as I've said before, and I'll say it again just for the people who are new, and hang in there, people who have seen me analyze before I'll be out of this in a second. The reason why I don't have an exact time frame for the second scenario, and the reason why the first scenario I'm saying March and the second scenario I'm saying April to November, is because this trend in the 4-year cycle would suggest it's going to take 1,400 days to reach the bottom in November. And that trend is being from top to top 1,400, from top to top 1,400 again, from bottom to bottom 1,400, and from bottom to bottom 1,400 again, okay? The trend suggests we're going to be reaching it in November, whereas the daily chart and the TA suggests we're going to be reaching it as early as April, and so we're putting a big range there. If we break out, let me clarify, if we break out of this channel, right, this channel here, bring it up. If we break out of this channel, we're going to see the bottom, right? Like break to the upside. If we break out to the upside, we're going to be seeing the bottom between April and November. If we continue within this channel, the bottom will be in March. That is my prediction for Bitcoin. Okay, and I hope that's more clear than what I said it like before. Okay, so we'll look at Ethereum next.